What's up, Steelers Nation? Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's news, I want to start with this. Our Pittsburgh Steelers are always working, always grinding, always looking for ways to sharpen their game and bring us the results we've been waiting for. That's the culture Coach Tomlin has built, relentless improvement. And hey, if you believe in that mission, do me a favor right now. Smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's the best way to support what we're doing here and to stay locked in with all things black and gold. Now, today we've got two major storylines to break down. First, the headline that's frustrating a lot of fans. One of the top free agent wide receivers on the market, Kendrick Bourne, does not seem to be considering Pittsburgh as a destination right now. And then we'll pivot to some positive news because we've got an encouraging update on rookie quarterback Will Howard and his injury status. So stick with me until the end because you're going to want to weigh in on both of these. So let's start with Kendrick Bourne. If you've been following free agency, you know Bourne was recently released by the New England Patriots after initially making their 53-man roster. He had 2 years left on a $33 million deal that he signed last offseason, but after suffering a lower leg injury in training camp on August 1st and then not practicing for weeks, the two sides decided to part ways. Now here's the kicker. Bourne is wasting no time. According to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, he already has visits lined up. He's scheduled to meet with the San Francisco 49ers next Monday and then with the Washington Commanders on Tuesday, right before Week 1 kicks off. And get this, he's got contract parameters already in place with both teams. But what about the Steelers? Well, here's the disappointing part. There are no signs at all that Pittsburgh is in the mix, not even a whisper that the front office is making calls. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Steelers' wide receiver depth is already a huge question mark. We've got DK Metcalf holding it down as the clear WR1. Behind him, it's a mix of Scott Miller, Calvin Austin III, rookie Roman Wilson, and Robert Woods. That's not exactly the most intimidating receiver room in the NFL. The front office knows this too. They've been sniffing around all summer, looking for reinforcements. They brought in Gabe Davis for multiple visits, but concerns about his medicals shut that down. And just this past week, when Marquez Valdes-Scantling signed with the 49ers practice squad, insider Mark Kaboly reported that the Steelers weren't pursuing anyone else in free agency or via trade. And yet, here we are, watching Kendrick Bourne circle NFC contenders while Pittsburgh sits on the sidelines. Now let's talk about Bourne himself. He's 30 years old, came into the league as an undrafted free agent with the 49ers in 2017 and spent 4 solid years there before heading to New England in 2021. He's a reliable possession receiver, a guy who works well in the slot and can move the chains. But the big question is durability. He tore his ACL in October of 2023, which limited him to just 20 games played over the past 2 seasons. That's a concern. Still, before the injury, he was a productive weapon, and the fact that both San Francisco and Washington are willing to work out contracts with him tells you he's healthy enough to contribute right now. So why aren't the Steelers jumping in? That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, it comes down to philosophy. Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan have built this roster with a very specific vision in mind. They're emphasizing toughness, versatility, and players who can step into multiple roles. They've already invested in Jonnu Smith, a tight end who can flex out into the slot. They've leaned on Roman Wilson's potential as a rookie, and they clearly trust Aaron Rodgers to elevate the receivers already in the room. That doesn't mean they won't revisit the market later, especially if injuries pile up or if the offense sputters out of the gate. But for now, the message seems clear. The Steelers aren't chasing Kendrick Bourne. All right, let's shift gears to something that should actually put a smile on your face, because we finally got a positive update on rookie quarterback Will Howard. If you remember, Howard came into Pittsburgh as a 6th-round pick out of Ohio State, and right away he turned heads in rookie minicamp, OTAs, and the early stages of preseason. The kid looked like he belonged, but then disaster struck. He fractured the pinky finger on his throwing hand. He missed all 3 preseason games, lost out on valuable reps, and eventually landed on the reserve injured list to start the season. That move guaranteed he'd missed at least the first 4 games of the year. Some even speculated that his entire rookie season might be lost. But now, we're hearing something much different. Howard appeared on the Pat McAfee show and gave an encouraging update. He said, "I'm back to throwing this week, so it's feeling good, going in the right direction." That is huge. For the first time since the injury, we're hearing directly from him that he's making real progress. He's throwing again, he's trending toward a return. And look, nobody is saying he's about to suit up in Week 5 and light the world on fire, but just the fact that he's recovering, just the fact that he's moving forward is a major relief for the Steelers. Now here's why this matters. Aaron Rodgers is here for 2025, but beyond that, it's anybody's guess. The prevailing thought is that Rodgers is a one-year rental. He's here to make a run, and then Pittsburgh will reset the quarterback room next offseason. That means 2026 is wide open. The Steelers are almost certainly going to be in the mix for one of the elite quarterbacks in next year's draft class, but Will Howard will be in that competition too. He's got the tools, he's got the pedigree, he just needs time to develop, and staying healthy is step one. If Howard can come back this season, get some reps, and soak up everything he can behind Rodgers, that sets him up to be part of the conversation in 2026. Let's talk about the first headline that has Steelers Nation buzzing. Safety Deshaun Elliott has come forward with a public apology to Aaron Rodgers. If you remember, back in the offseason, Rodgers took his sweet time deciding whether he'd officially join the Steelers. He was weighing his options, dragging out the process, and while fans were impatient, so were some of the players in the locker room. Elliott was one of the loudest voices. He went as far as to say Rodgers should leave his A at the retirement home. That's a pretty bold statement aimed at a four-time NFL MVP and future Hall of Famer. And it wasn't just Elliott. Cam Hayward also expressed his frustration, urging Rodgers to make a decision instead of holding the team hostage. Well, fast forward to now. Rodgers is officially a Steeler. He's here, he's in the building, and guess what? He's winning people over fast. Elliott joined Hayward on the Not Just Football podcast and took a moment to eat some humble pie. Here's what he said.
Anyone that knows me, I usually speak my mind very openly. A lot of times, I'm not wrong. This time, I was wrong. I'm being real. I always say things that people know is right, but probably shouldn't be said. But he's proven me wrong fully. Great person, great football player. Everyone knows he's a great football player. He's a Hall of Fame player. But the way he's made it easy for everybody to welcome him with open arms, I appreciate him for doing that. That's big. That's leadership. And it shows you just how quickly Rodgers has changed the dynamic in this locker room. It wasn't just Elliott, though. Cam Hayward also took some time to apologize for his comments earlier in the summer. Both players admitted Rodgers has come in with humility, professionalism, and focus. When Rodgers first walked into the facility, he reportedly told the guys, "Hey, I know I was a distraction, but I'm here. I'm locked in." That kind of accountability goes a long way. It's why veterans like Rodgers command respect, even when they take their time making career decisions. Now, with the locker room united behind them, the focus is clear. Get back to the playoffs, make some noise, and chase another Lombardi. Now, let's pivot to another huge storyline, because Aaron Rodgers isn't just winning over teammates. He's also out here working behind the scenes trying to recruit receivers he trusts. We already know the Steelers made a blockbuster move earlier this offseason by trading for DK Metcalf. That sent shockwaves through the league. Then, in another jaw-dropping twist, they dealt away George Pickens. That was a gamble, but the message was clear. They wanted Rodgers to have a true wide receiver one, and Metcalf is that guy. So the current wide receiver room looks like this. Metcalf at the top, second-year Roman Wilson bringing youthful energy, Calvin Austin III providing speed, plus depth from guys like Scotty Miller and Ben Skoranek. Not bad, right? But apparently not enough for Rodgers. Reports broke this week that Rodgers personally reached out to contacts in Green Bay to ask about Romeo Doubs, one of his former teammates. That raised eyebrows immediately. Was Rodgers pushing for another familiar face in Pittsburgh? But it doesn't stop there. According to The Athletic, wideout Marquez Valdez-Scantling revealed Rodgers nearly convinced him to sign with the Steelers earlier this offseason. The two were teammates in Green Bay from 2018 to 2021, and MVS was one of Rodgers' deep threat weapons during those years. Rodgers knows his skill set, knows what he brings to the table, and wanted him to wear the black and gold. Valdez-Scantling admitted it was a tough decision. He wanted me back over there. It really came down to familiarity or Aaron Rodgers. Do I join him in Pittsburgh, or do I go to San Francisco where I can hit the ground running? Ultimately, MVS chose the 49ers practice squad, but the fact that Rodgers went out his way to recruit him tells you everything you need to know. He's not done building. He wants guys he trusts, guys who know his timing, and guys who can execute when the lights are brightest. So let's step back and look at the big picture. On one hand, you've got teammates like Elliott and Hayward learning to trust Rodgers, realizing that he's still got plenty left in the tank and embracing him as their leader. That's chemistry, and chemistry matters. On the other hand, you got Rodgers himself already trying to shape the roster, trying to bring in guys who can maximize his final push for another ring. That's urgency, and urgency matters. Combine the two, and what you get is a Steelers team that feels different. This isn't just another season where we hope to be competitive. This is a season where the organization, the locker room, and the quarterback are all aligned towards one thing: winning now. So let's bring it back around. On one hand, we've got Kendrick Bourne, a proven veteran wideout hitting free agency, but Pittsburgh doesn't look interested. On the other hand, we've got Will Howard, a rookie quarterback who's showing signs of life after an early setback. These are two different stories, but they both point to the same bigger picture. The Steelers are playing the long game. They're making decisions not just for Week 1 of 2025, but for the seasons to come. All right, Steelers Nation, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Steelers are making a mistake by not going after Kendrick Bourne? Should they be more aggressive in adding receiver depth right now? And what about Will Howard? Does his recovery change how you view the future quarterback room in Pittsburgh? Could he be a legitimate option in 2026, or he's just a developmental project? Drop your takes in the comments below, because this is the kind of conversation that defines what it means to be part of Steelers Nation. We don't just watch, we debate, we analyze, and we push this team to be better. And before I sign off, one last reminder. If you enjoyed this breakdown, if you want more exclusive Steelers coverage, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss an update. Here we go, Steelers Nation. The journey continues.